Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Discovering Your Mission with Dr. Mordecai. On today, my guest, Madiama Mbaye, author of the book, Fated to Win. Born and raised in Senegal, educated in Dakar, Majama is a proud husband and father of 4 children. He's an entrepreneur, an educator, an author, and has dedicated his life's work to the advancement of others. He has wrote an amazing book titled Fated to Win. I read it and immediately said to myself, I have to interview and have him on the show. And by watching this episode, you're going to learn why. Without further ado, my interview with Madiama Mbaye. Greetings, champions. Once again, Dr. Mordecai here with Discovering Your Mission. This is a guest that I have definitely been waiting to have a conversation with ever since I read his book, Fated to Win. We're going to get into this. If you have not purchased this book, you definitely need to purchase this book. It is an amazing opportunity to reflect on your own leadership journey and your skill sets and how you are projecting yourself, especially as we talk about discovering your mission and needing a pathway and some tools that can help you in discovering your mission. This is an amazing book. But I have with me on today, Brother Madiama Mbaye. Thank you so much for joining us on today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brownlee, for having me. It is my privilege and a very great honor to appear on your podcast. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, my friend. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to jump right into it. You studied in Dakar, and then from Dakar made your way to Missouri, I believe, here in the United States,
Yes.
and then ultimately here in Denver, Colorado. So before we talk about this book, let's talk about your journey. Share with us your journey and just what's brought you to this point in time and the great work that you're doing.
Well, thank you so much again, Dr. Brownlee, my brother. This is an honor. Honestly, I know we've been talking about it for some time, but here we are today. Yes, to talk about my journey, just as you mentioned, yes, I studied in Dakar at Cheikh Anta Diop University, where I earned my master's degree in African American literature. And when I was doing my postgraduate degree, that's when I got the chance to be invited to Indiana University in Bloomington to participate in a summer institute where they were talking about African literature, African American literature. After I participated with that, a friend of mine, a lady whom I met in Dakar in 1999, invited me to Kansas City, Missouri. When I went over there, when we were talking, she said, "Are you interested in teaching here?" I said, "Yeah, if I have the opportunity." He said, there is a big shortage of French teachers here. I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yes." So the next day, I think it was on a Monday, she took me to 3 schools. I interviewed, and the last school hired me on the spot. So that's how I ended in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, in 2001, my wife got an internship here in Denver at the Alliance Française. So I came with her in this summer to help her settle here. My intention was to go back to Kansas City, Missouri, continue my teaching. But when we came in Denver, we really fell in love with the city. And I met some people, some wonderful people from Senegal, especially the religious community that I found here, the Murid. So I said, this is what I was looking for. So ever since I settled in Colorado, and the rest is history.
Outstanding. And I think who brought us together, we
Yes.
have to honor his name. Papa Dia, Papa Ja.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you talk about Papa Ja, and you honor him in this book as well.
Absolutely.
Before I get into the book, see, I gotta put the book back down. I want to get into the book.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. I'm sure
Right.
that there are some, as you went along that journey, making
Yes.
your way here to the United States, I can only
Uh-huh.
imagine the challenges that you would have faced, and things that you had to overcome. The purpose of this show is to provide wisdom to the listeners and watchers to help them and encourage them along their journey. So my question to you then is, as you reflect over your journey, you've been a franchise owner. You have
Yes.
started your own media company. You have written your own book. We're going to talk about how you're going to get into your executive coaching here in a moment. This is going to be your next venture. What
Yes.
wisdom would you share to someone who's watching this and they're being inspired by your story? What wisdom would you give them in terms of what you had to overcome or tips and tools you wish someone would have shared, they would have shared with you that you can now share with them?
Well, I think it is a very hard question because now that I look back, to me it was not anything out of the ordinary. I was just being me, you know. As I share in the book, I overcome a lot of challenges growing up. If you read the book, you'll find those. But one thing that I think would always or always kept me going was really to have a sense of purpose. What do I want to do with my life? Back then, when I was just a youngster, I always believed that I would rise up one day to support my family. I would become somebody, you know, and I would never allow anybody to put me down because anyway, nobody can do that without your permission. I would have never given anybody permission to put me down. So to me, it is like setting goals, achieve them, and set new ones. I always say as immigrants, when we are back home, wherever we are, we had a goal, and that goal was to go out, explore the world, and find better opportunities. Now, when we come here, sometimes if we fail to set new goals, that's when we get stuck. But to me, when I came in, the teaching, of course, was very, very challenging because I was like, there was culture shock. There was like a lot of stuff that I didn't know. High schools here were completely different from what I knew back home. So it was very hard. I have to be honest, like certain time at the school, every single day I would say, today is my last day, because it was just hard. The kids couldn't get me at all. They would tell me, Mr. Mbaye, you are not funny. And I'll say, let me tell you something. Funny is cultural. I can tell you jokes all day long and you wouldn't laugh because you don't know the culture behind it. But wanting to be here and wanting to adapt, to integrate, what I did was to start watching African American movies, because the school I was teaching at was like an inner city school. 95% of the kids were African Americans. So if I wanted to blend, if I wanted to speak their language, I needed to study the culture. So I did that through watching movies. Martin Lawrence and Chris Tucker taught me a lot of jokes. So when I came in class, I start saying those things. You don't know who you're messing with. I slap people for fun, things like that. And the kids starting to crack up, you know, just starting to welcome me now because I started to speak their language. So that was one hurdle, and that's how I overcame it. When I came here in Denver, looking for a job was not easy, you know. There was a time when my wife and our income, everything that we had was not, I think it was $1.75. This was back in 2001. It was extremely hard finding a job, but ultimately I landed one at a collection agency. It was a law office. But like very soon I realized that I was not able to support myself and my wife here, plus the families that we left back home. So that led me to try to find something more. That finding something more put me in touch with a friend who had a cleaning business, and that's how I got the franchise. I investigated into it, started small, and then bought the franchise in 2003. Well, everything's, all of this stuff, I just make it short because they're in the book again. So, but that's how the franchise was born. Ever since, I'll tell people that I worked here for only 20 months total, 9 months at the school and 11 months at the law firm. After that, I've been a business owner. My wife and I built a business from the ground up. And today we're serving like many hotels and golf courses and stuff in the industry. hospitality industry. And there, really, it taught me that if you really, really want to make it, you have to be in the service industry. You have to be willing to serve others. Because fulfillment will not just come by focusing on yourself, because that would be very short-lived. But if you have in mind that the world is an oyster, you start to think about other people, because you and I, what we have in common is our maker. If I would like to get along with people, if I would like to make a dent or make a difference in the world, I have to see myself in you, because we came from the same source, and that is God. That's my belief. So that was the journey so far.
Brother, let me tell you, I felt the passion. I felt the passion. For those who have not read this book, and I'm going to get into this book now, you need to buy this book, Fated to Win. I'm going to ask you, and I don't want to spoil parts of the book, but let me ask you this. Let's start here.
Yes.
As you just shared so much of your passion, so much of your story, so much of your journey, what you had to overcome. At some point, you said, I've got to write a book. So my question to you is why did you write the book?
Wow. You know, I ask myself that question over and over again, because I said, who am I to write a book on success where there are myriads of titles already in the market? But my answer was, I have read a lot. I am an avid reader who wants to, really immerse myself in the personal development literature. So that's where I read a lot. But I came to the conclusion that I didn't find any book on success that was written by somebody like me, that was written with my perspective. Because everything that I read was really from the Western culture. But how about African perspective? Success is not just what people think of it in the West. Because I came from an oral tradition, a lot of knowledge has not been written. People were talking about knowledge, talking about things that we needed to know, but it was just oral, passed on from generation to generation. But at some point you might wonder, will that die one day? So my writing this was to be able to blend the two, the African perspective and the Western perspective, showing that whatever is known in the West in terms of success is also known in Africa. It is just not written. To me, it was my purpose to shed the light on that end, to let people know that do not allow anybody to define success for you. Because if you do, that's when you will start getting in trouble. At the end of the book, what I'm saying is that you have to run your own race in order to achieve meaningful success. I'm just not saying success, because in my understanding, I do not see anybody who's more successful than an educator. And yet they are not billionaires, most of them, and yet they struggle to make ends meet. But to me, they have meaningful success because they are participating in the development of the world, the betterment of people from the young age up. So whatever it is, or however it is that you define success, I would say run your own race. Understand it? Always try, the only person you should compare yourself with is the person you were yesterday. And if you see any advancement, no matter how small it is, to me, it is success. To me, it's progress.
I love it, man. I love it. You're making my soul smile over here. Okay. All right. Let me. In the book.
Yes.
You were highlighting for the reader how to examine their own interest. And there's a statement that you make. You says, without knowing it, most of us use our interest to make decisions. And you begin to lay out a few wisdoms that, again, is in this book. And I want to. So my question to you here is that what advice would you have for those that, okay,
They know they want to be successful. They're hearing what you're saying. They know that they shouldn't be comparing themselves to others. They only need to think about their own journey, focusing on their journey. And you highlight what I think is gold, where you talk about allowing your personal interest to inform your purpose, to inform your personal mission. My question to
Yes.
you is at what point did you begin to examine your own personal interest and this begin to shape this journey that you're now on?
Wow. I think that really came about when I started to serve other people. You know, I would always say that the secret of success is in service. Service will teach you a lot about you, because it is only then that you will start to see the world differently. Because as I said earlier, if you only concentrate on yourself, it is very limiting. But if you start to serve, you will start to see the joy that comes out of you. Like me, whenever I'm sharing what I'm reading, because I don't want to say teaching, because to me, whoever you meet is your teacher in some way. So even the classes that I facilitate, I would always tell people that there is no teacher and there is no students. We are all students and learners at the same time. So I would always say that when you do something that you feel like you don't concentrate on time, time will go by without you noticing at all. That's where you will find your purpose. Because whatever you do for the money, sometimes you get tired, sometimes you were stressed, sometimes you were that. But when you're doing what you love, that you cannot even see time passes by, that's really where you need to start looking. And for me, it started when I started mentoring people, young African here, or young Senegalese to start it with, because I worked with a lot of young people here, making them believe that there is absolutely nothing that they cannot do, be, or have if they believe in themselves. One word that I would always tell them to avoid is trying, because trying confuses your subconscious mind, because it really doesn't tell it what to do. For instance, if you say, I'm trying to pick up the piece of trash on the street, well, it is either you do or you don't.
Yes.
So whatever it is, make a decision and go full speed.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me tell you something. I can keep asking you questions, but I want to honor your time. I'm just going to tell the listeners and watchers you need to buy this book. Brother, can you share with us? You're now moving into executive coaching and personal coaching. And can you share with us the works that you're now going to be getting engaged with in regards to your coaching?
You know, I discovered coaching as I understand it now about 2 years ago, because to me that's what I was doing all along. I thought it was mentoring. I thought it was like helping people, uplifting them, allowing them to unleash their full potential. But when I wanted to transition, because of course the business I'm doing right now, I've been in it for the last 20 years. And to me, it is time for me to focus on what I truly love. And it is this: speaking, writing, coaching, teaching. So the coaching part came to me when I took the certification first last year. But then I realized that I needed to dig deeper. I needed to have a better understanding. So I kept digging on that. That led me to something that is called positive intelligence, which is really focusing on your mental fitness. So that's why I'm launching my new coaching practice called Mentinium. Mentium really has a lot to do with the mind, the power of your mind, because as I would always share with people, the first step that we need to take in anything that we do in our lives is self-awareness. Now, you cannot be self-aware without working on your mental fitness. So that's the reason why, and to me, I would like to work with business owners, entrepreneurs to help them really highlight that area of life to be better people, better leaders, in order to grow their businesses, but also serve other people in the community.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm sure you're going to be extremely successful, brother, in all that you do. You're already impacting so many lives, and I'm just excited. I'm grateful. I'm honored to know you. You know, our time is now short, good brother. We've got time for one more question, and what I
Okay.
like to do for all of our guests that come on the show is just ask, what is your personal mission statement and why? So I'll ask that right now, brother Mbaye. What is your personal mission statement and why?
I'll start that with a quotation that I read years ago. I think it is by Bernard Shaw, who said that those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. So my personal statement is evolving. If you asked me this 2 years ago, I would say it is to uplift and empower people to unleash their full potential, to live the best version of their lives. But today, that personal mission has changed, and it comes to really building up entrepreneurs. And this is the reason why. To me, I believe that success is not just personal. If you are successful alone, and you are not sharing anything that you know, that's how you become a generational failure. But if you are able to uplift other people with you, that's when true success comes. And I think entrepreneurs like myself owe it to the communities where they work and live to build better businesses in order to help those communities from the ground up. So the personal mission is to work with all entrepreneurs to develop their mental fitness so that they can highlight their contribution and also their personal happiness inside the communities where they live and work.
Good brother, once again, you have been absolutely a jewel, so much wisdom. The author of Fated to Win, Brother Majama Mbaye. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate this.
Brother Mbaye, thank you so much for your time and wisdom shared. Well, if you've watched the show previously, you would know that at this time, I like to share with you my 3 key takeaways, and I certainly encourage you to identify your key takeaways and feel free to share them in the comment section. But here are my 3. First one, Brother Mbaye said, if you fail to set new goals, you will become stuck. I think it's pretty powerful as we think about the evolution of our lives, personal and professional lives, and the need to always assess where are we at in our journeys and to establish new goals to continue to move forward. Next, Brother Mbaye talked about finding a way to strengthen your mental fitness. I thought that was pretty powerful. What are some of the ways in which you can begin to strengthen your mental fitness? Resources, practices, taking on new habits, things that not only encourage you for the current day, the day tomorrow, and the days that follow as you live out your mission. Last but certainly not least, Brother Mbaye talked about do not allow anyone to define success for you. Pretty powerful as we think about today's time in which we live, constantly comparing ourselves in pop culture, social media, society to others' journeys, and remembering that the real journey lies with the person staring back at you in the mirror. I wish you all the absolute best. Thank you so much for your time on today. I'll see you soon at itsdrmordecai.com. Take care.